Hi guys, it has been a hot minute since I've jumped on here, so I'm really sorry if I'm a little bit rusty. But first and foremost, how are you all? Thank you for bearing with me with the unending and somewhat unexplained pause in recording. But yeah, please tell me how you are down below. For those of you who've been in touch whilst I have been away, for want of a better expression, thank you so much. I've been posting very, very intermittently over on Instagram. But we're back now, guys, and we're hoping to get back into a kind of regular format every 2 weeks or so. You're going to hear lots of noise in the background. I'll come on to what that is, why that is, where I've been, what I've been doing very briefly towards the end. But suffice to say, nothing negative, just an awful lot of stuff has been going on, and I knew that this audience, this space, would be understanding of me taking some time just to get all that stuff out of the way, get it done, get settled, and now we're back. So, first and foremost, what am I wearing? From the top, it is intermittently beautiful blue sky and pouring with rain here in the UK. We've had flood warnings and all sorts, so I've definitely been in my sweater weather era season, loving it. This jumper has come back out of stash numerous times. This was a kind of semi-self-drafted pattern. I think I cast on the original collar line, the neckline, on the basis of the no frill sweater by work.knits, but I then just from there did my own number of increases, etc, etc. I think you can just about see I did a kind of stitch like mock rib down the front. That is echoed, I think, on the underside of the sleeves. I've got like a fake seam, I've got very long cuffs. And then you'll see this sweater, the keen-eyed amongst you, you'll see there's additions on the sleeves. I think I went into this in a previous episode, but essentially I've gone back into this sweater multiple times and just kind of added length in various places, which would have been fine in theory, but I picked up in the wrong needle size because this is at a time when I did not make very good notes. So I think the main body of the sweater is knit on a 3.5mm needle, but then I thought I'd done it in 3.75. Anyway, alas, here we are. The only other thing I'll say on this jumper is I really love this colour and I really love the yarn because it produces beautiful colours. This is Holsgarn Super Soft, which is like a 2-ply jumper weight yarn. And the way the yarn is dyed means loads of the colours are really heathered, they've got a really beautiful depth. They're just beautiful. Really multifaceted colours. So I always get loads of compliments on the colour of this jumper. I absolutely love it, and it's just the perfect weight for this kind of transitional weather, so I've been wearing it quite a lot. So that's what I'm wearing. What have I been knitting? Given how long I've been away for, I don't have that many finished objects to show you, which I think is a testimony to how busy it has been. I have barely picked up my needles, but that's one of the reasons for choosing to record now, is because I finally have some stuff to show. So I'm going to come over here, and in order that I finished them, lots of these are not blocked yet, so please excuse that, but whoop, we've got tassels showing at the front. Some of you on Instagram may have seen that I have finished my lily top. As I say, unblocked, needs a blocking. The weather here has just not been the one for drying very wet woolen things. This is a beautiful top pattern, really simple but with really nice attention to detail. It's got a really nice simple front, but the back ties up and then is kind of open in a V. I've chosen to do my ties all towards the top. I think on the original she spaces them out a tiny bit more. That was just a personal preference for me, that I was a little bit worried the top was going to kind of gape around the bust area on the front if I didn't have all the ties that focus at the back. Oh, you're getting to meet one of the things that has been taking up my time recently. A new cat has entered our lives, new little addition. This is Aggie. Aggie is super curious, super cuddly, and will probably feature in quite a few episodes because she just needs to be close at all times. But yes, she's been another reason I have not been knitting quite so much. Anyway, back to the lily top. I think I said, yeah, this is by work.knits. They're a designer that I haven't really worked with before. I haven't worked with one of their patterns before. I quite like the instructions. I think, what do I think? Yeah, I quite liked the instructions. I would say you probably need to be kind of a beginner to intermediate knitter. I wouldn't say it's like a brand new knitter style pattern. There's things like I-cords. I think having some knowledge of like how to do joins nicely, how to pick up stitches nicely is quite important. Just going to ignore the chaos in the background behind me. But I think, yeah, like definitely a kind of beginner to intermediate pattern. I think I'm going to be styling this quite a lot over cami tops and a pair of work trousers, or like smart trousers or even jeans. Like I think as a layering piece this is going to be really nice for those days where it's a bit too cold to be just kind of walking around in a t-shirt, but you don't want a full-on jumper. So I think this is going to be perfect. I'm going to treat it almost like a vest, if you see what I mean, like a kind of sleeveless slip over. In terms of needles and other details, this was knit on 6mm needles, and it is knit up in my yarn, which is the work.knits yarn. And I knit this on the Smooth DK base in the colourway Rose Gold. There currently isn't any more of this colourway in stock in my shop. I used up the last few skeins, sorry. But there will be a shop update coming fairly soon, and I'll talk more about that again at the end of the episode, because I know it's not everyone's cup of tea. But yeah, really happy with this. Really can't wait to block it, take some proper photos and get wearing it, really, to be honest. So that's my first finished object. My second finished object hasn't even made it onto Instagram properly yet, and again is not blocked. Sorry, we've got some interesting light. We've got this beautiful afternoon light coming in and hitting the curtain here, but at the same time it's a bit dull in the rest of the room, so yeah, lighting is TBC. But yes, I have finished this cowl. This is the Glacier Park cowl by Boyland Knitworks. I have had this, this was like, not that I wouldn't have purchased this anyway, this was, and I don't know if anyone else has done this, ever woken up and you're looking through your Ravelry library and your queue and stuff, and you suddenly clock there's a pattern that you've bought that you thought was just in your queue. I must have been doing some late night browsing and purchasing, evidently. I mean, I'm not complaining, because as I say, I have wanted to knit it for a while, but yes, it definitely made it into my library quicker than I thought. I have knit this in, it's whether or not I've got the labels for the yarn left in here. Oh, I do. Oh, that's good. So, I knew I wanted to knit a new cowl for myself for this winter. As I will come on to, I am now doing quite a lot of commuting again, and I knew I'd want something that I could just whip on that I wouldn't need to kind of fuss with to stay in place. I've got my go-to shawl, my market day shawl, which is one of my designs. That's kind of my go-to scarf. I'm going to wear one. But cowl-wise, I actually haven't got many that are just absolutely perfect in terms of weight, in terms of kind of looseness around my neck, and also actually in terms of height. So I've made this one super tall, as you can see. Cast this on 3.5mm needles. I followed the pattern in terms of how they said to switch the dominant colour and which colours you'll contrast in your main, and I'm quite happy with how that turned out. I didn't really follow, I mean the pattern kind of leaves it quite flexible how many repeats you do in this middle section, so I didn't really think too much about that, but my main focus was on making the most of some really special yarn. So this is yarn that I picked up on my trip to Japan earlier this year, and I'm going to have a bit of a tough time, I think, giving you like names of colourways. I think they're just going to be numbers. But this yarn is Amory F from New Zealand. It is a merino acrylic blend, 70% merino, 30% acrylic. And as I say, I picked this up in Japan. Half the label's in Japanese, so I think whilst it is New Zealand based merino, I think the brand is Japanese. And they produce, one of my observations when I came back from Japan was that they produce their yarn quantities in very different weights to what we do. So 30 grams is quite common, or like 40 grams. These are 30-gram balls. I got 2 in this orange colourway, which I believe was colourway 517. And then I got 1 in the greeny, minty aqua colour, and that was 507. No, other way around. Orange is 507, aqua is 517. And it's just been really lovely to knit with. I think the yarn brand, oh hello Beatrice, both the cats featuring today. I think the yarn brand kind of describes this as a DK weight, but it's got a really kind of airy ply. And I think the cowl calls for fingering weight, and it's worked pretty good. I'd say I'm not going to put this on because I'll mess up my hair, but let's be honest, the hair's a bit messed up anyway. I don't know what's going on with this bit. Gonna leave it. But I really enjoyed this. This was my train knitting. I definitely messed up the numbers. I don't know if this is me or the pattern. I'm going to assume it's me because of the time of day that I'm knitting on this, and I'm just going to assume it's me. But my numbers didn't match up, so you can probably see here at the beginning of round, it's just all out of kilter. Yeah, to get the colour work in the middle part to be the right stitch count, my ribbing and the other bit of colour work wouldn't have worked, so don't know. But second finished objects, we've got a kind of vesty t-shirt top and a cow. Oh, bitch just decided to sit literally just behind me. It's quite unusual for her. My last one, I've been working on this for weeks, but it's something I've wanted done for ages, and the only reason it wasn't done quicker is because it wasn't particularly portable. I have knit the Maggie cardigan by Petite Knit. I haven't knit a Petite Knit pattern in a while. This was kind of my segue back into knitting her patterns. I've had a bit of a love-hate relationship with them for multiple reasons that I won't go into, but was really enjoying knitting this. I've knit this though out of 2 strands of a kind of cobweb weight yarn from Knoll Yarns, which is on a massive cone in the colourway Almond. So I held 2 strands of that. And then, and I didn't have this information to hand when I did my Instagram post, and I'm not going to have it to hand again, which is classic. Zakami Yarns sell a selection of their bases undyed, or the bases that they kind of get in undyed, and they've got one that's like a, I'm not going to get the exact composition correct, but it's got like some yak, it's got some merino, it's got some suri, it's got some silk, it's got kind of lots of everything, but the main thing that differentiated it was the yak. And it's a beautiful grey colour. So when I combined it with the almond, it's just this beautiful like stone effect. I found these little tiny buttons, which I love. And yeah, I followed the instructions down to probably about here, and then I've just done my own shaping, which is to kind of decrease every inch or so either side on the waist, 2 stitches each side when I do a decrease. The buttons, I kind of roughly followed the instructions for how to figure those out. This is a really interesting construction because you kind of do this like, I don't know if you can see, but there's some shaping that almost makes like a corner here. You'll have to go back to my last episode where I definitely discussed it, but I was like really intrigued how this was going to sit. I think it does sit well. Like, the cardigan fits me like a glove. I got so many compliments when I wore it to work the other day. It's just, it does fit me really beautifully. But I still don't know how bought in I am to the way that the shoulders are constructed. I think you could get an equally lovely fit doing it a slightly different way. I'll just show you on the back. So you kind of knit the back section, pick up the shoulder, but then kind of work this square at the same time. I think on one of my episodes I was kind of speculating, is it a bit like the ziggurat method? I don't know. The contiguous method, are they the same things? That was my question last time. Let me know down below if you happen to know. So that is my other finished object. So in the grand scheme of things, to be honest, normally I don't think I'd have much more than 3 finished objects in the space of a month or 2, but I'd normally have more works in progress to show you. So I think given my knitting time's been limited, I've kind of focused in on just like 1 or 2 things. I have done a complete go through like my stash, my whips, all sorts, and we're doing pretty well on the whip count actually, guys. But there's definitely less than I would normally have on the needles, so that's been kind of interesting. One whip I would show you, which is in its kind of infancy, is handily halfway through a row. Haha, looks like this. This is so unhelpful. And I don't even have the examples, the finished examples, to show you to hand. I'll come on to that in a minute. But essentially this is going to be a collar. I have made a number of collars last year, and I just want one that's a little bit wider. And I really, to be honest, it's not that any of my others don't fill the gap that I need. It's that I just really wanted them in this yarn and this colourway. So this grey yarn and the contrasting purpley colour, which is unusual for me, that I'm going to use. hope you can see all the kind of like blues and reds and whoa, yeah, look at that. So I'm using these two. These are both yarns that I picked up in Scotland. They are both Scottish yarns from Scottish mills. I'll do a proper review of the yarns probably in the next episode when I've used a bit more of them and I can get the tags out the middle of the cakes. But yeah, I really wanted to collar in these two. I still haven't decided whether I'm going to be dedicated enough to do colour work texture. We will see. It would look stunning. It's just whether I've got the like mental wherewithal at the moment to balance both of those. But let's see, maybe this will end up being something that just kind of plugs away on my needles a bit, and I commit to doing what I would like to do visually. Sorry, my mobile phone going off, that's not very professional. Let's flip that over. What else can I tell you? Well, I guess in terms of those other whips, so other whips that you guys will probably recall from previous episodes if you're a longer term viewer, I've still got my Big Love Cardigan by Anchor Strict on my needles. I want to pick that back up. That's another not particularly portable project. I am knitting that up in Wool Dreamers Manchalope, which is an unspun single ply yarn, and it's in big cakes, and then I'm holding it again with yarn off a cone. So again, not the most portable, but I really do want that for this winter. So that one's definitely gonna see some work in the coming weeks. Some other things I've kind of got on my mind that I thought I'd share. One, I've already caked yarn up for. I'm obviously on a bit of like a slip over collar kick because I also want to cast on probably like a ribbed or a textured slip over with like quite a big collar. The question mark is going to be whether I have enough yarn for it. The yarn I'm using, again, really unusual for me. I don't know why so much purple is featuring at the moment because not there's anything wrong with purple, it's just not a colour I often wear. But we're going to roll with it. So I dyed up this quite like layered tonal purpley pinky reddy colour. It's not quite showing up on camera correctly, that's probably a bit more accurate. It's got like a warmth to it. And I'm going to hold it with this dark grey yarn, which is also from my trip to Japan. This is Sonomono and they call it coloured wool 100%. But I think this is a blend of sheep and alpaca, and these are in 25 gram balls, which is a little bit more akin to what I am used to here in the UK. 125 meters per 25 grams. So yeah, it's a kind of a fluffy. So I'm gonna knit that. I've got 2 balls of the fluff. And I've got 4 50 gram balls of this is my kind of like natural DK base. It hasn't got a colourway name. I might be being a bit too adventurous, we'll just see. I think what I'll probably do is do it from the neck down, and just literally like weigh my yarn all the time and play a bit of yarn chicken. The problem will be if I run out of this, but I do have a lighter shade I could go into. Not that ideal. We'll have a bit of a think, guys. There's something happening here. And then the other thing that I'm definitely casting on very soon, and again might be a bit of a game of yarn chicken, is the Dover sweater by Coco More Knitwear. She launched this, it feels like a few weeks ago, but I'm sure it's actually longer, like it's been out for longer than that. But this is, I mean, it's on Ravelry as an Aran weight because she's used Unling, if I'm pronouncing that correctly, which are a coned yarn brand. They say their yarn is Aran weight. She's kind of said it feels more like a DK when she's knitting it. So I'm hoping that a DK will do me well. I've got 2 skeins of Bilaxton's Sheep Soft DK in the navy base. This is a kind of Blueface Leicester Masham base made in Yorkshire. And I've got 2 of those, and then kind of an interesting colour combo, I think, and it's, again, they're not quite showing up on camera correctly, but this is paler than it's looking on camera, more like that. No, not even. This is a super dusky blossom colour, again, that I picked up in Japan. This was from, and I'm going to forget the name of the shop, guys, I'm so sorry that I'm not more prepared. I will try and put it down below in the notes. But this is from the Amirisu. I know this one. This is from the Walnut Yarn Shop. I think it's called Walnut. They've got 2 of them in Japan, and they've got their own yarn range, which is the Amirisu range. This was a sport weight. It's their sprint hand dyed base, and it's 302 meters per 100 grams, spun and dyed in Japan. So I'm really excited about that one. And then this is from Ainsworth and Prynne. I picked this up at Farnham, and this is the colourway Hip Hip on their merino mohair sock. So it's a 55% merino, 20% kid mohair, 25% nylon. It's a 4-ply, 400 meters per 100 grams, but it's quite thick for a 4-ply. So I'm really hoping, I know it's a bit unconventional, but I think, and this one's getting very much, this one's looking more purple on camera than it actually is, but I'm really hoping those two are going to look fantastic together as stripes or flecks against the navy. So I'm really excited. I feel like I'm talking about 100 miles an hour. I am trying to record this in my lunch break, so we'll see how this is going. But maybe that's quite a nice segue into what I've been up to, what's been happening, yarn shop update, why that's happening, when that is. If you're around for all of that, fantastic. If you're not, I totally get it. As I say, I'm going to be trying to publish kind of every 2 weeks. Ideally on a Friday evening. This might slip to the weekend. Again, I'll come on to that in a minute. And in the next one, you might see a whole load of frogging, which is quite exciting, weirdly, quite exciting. And probably quite a few more whips, because we're really beginning to get the mojo back. I'm also doing a little trip to a yarn shop, not this weekend, but the following weekend. So hopefully I'll be able to update you on all of that. So if you're not sticking around, I will hopefully see you very soon. Have a really lovely week. For those of you staying with me and are interested in what's been happening, so we've moved. We are renting somewhere whilst we try and sell our place in Somerset. We're living together, which is fantastic. You'll see totally different background. I feel like I have packed, unpacked, lifted, shifted more boxes, done more trips to the charity shop and recycling centres and all sorts than I've ever done in my life. We have downsized significantly for this interim period. So there's a lot to get used to there. We have got 2 cats now, as you've seen, one of whom was a kitten. Well, the second one was a kitten when we got her. She was tiny. She is gorgeous. We love her. Zero complaint in this, but she is very time consuming. But as I say, not complaining. Like it's lovely having her. And I've gone back to work. So as in back to a corporate job. So lots of change and trying to get used to a new routine and all sorts. I will still be running the hand-dyed yarn company alongside my day job. I will now though just do kind of big dye sessions, one-off dye sessions, hopefully kind of every few months. I'm still committed to delivering on my advent calendars. Thank you so much for those of you who've been putting orders in for those. I think what I'm probably going to do is actually dye up more than has been ordered and then put some as ready to ship in my website, or in the shop I should say. But I'm going to treat that as, like, aside from the advent calendars, I'm going to treat my yarn dyeing as being based more on kind of how I'm feeling, more as an art form, hoping that sharing that with all of you is still fun and exciting. I'm going to keep the price point the same. I'm going to try and explore more kind of like minis and bits and pieces, just see what hits people's fancy, but definitely stick with the 50 grams. And I'm still exploring kind of opportunities to work with local farmers to make sure that we're using kind of locally sourced wool in the future. That's still not something that we're doing right now, but it is still in the pipeline, so that's really exciting. But yes, that hopefully clues you in on everything that's been happening. I'm going to be taking a pause on design work for a while. Again, I think I might have mentioned that in the last episode. But I'm really feeling very different about my knitting, having had a kind of couple of months where I've knit a lot less. I am really focused on the finish of the item, how it fits into my wardrobe. I'm just taking it a lot slower. I'm not feeling pressure to produce stuff regularly. Whereas I think when in theory I had a lot of time to knit, I felt like I should be knitting a lot, and yet ultimately wasn't because I had other things on. Now that's just kind of flipped. So we're in a good headspace. I'm really pleased to be back here. Sorry that today has been a little bit rambly, a little bit, but this is the start of getting back into sync. I'm also exploring possibility of doing some kind of podcast interviews with people. So I'm, looking forward to the kind of content we can be looking at over the winter. But I'm just really grateful for your patience and for coming back if you are a returning viewer, because I know even today recording this I'm a bit all over the place, and I definitely have been all over the place for the last few months. So again, thank you for your patience. Lovely to sit and talk to you, and I really hope you have a really good rest of the week, and I look forward to seeing you next time.